Hi everyone. Well, you can probably guess where I am here. A couple of clues, namely the bikes and the canals. Yes, indeed, I'm in Amsterdam. And I'm here because I was speaking at the HR forum yesterday, and it was a 2-day conference that took place where there was people from France, Croatia, Albania, Kosovo, Ireland, Malta, and a range of other countries. Azerbaijan was another one, Romania, a variety of others. And I wanted to share with you some key insights that I got from it. As you can see here, the sun is setting in Amsterdam, so my time is setting on the conference as well. So before I left, I wanted to share some thoughts with you. So first of all, my thesis that I was putting forward is that given that there is so much conversation now around inflation and around talent retention as well as acquisition, to me it makes absolute sense now more than ever to teach your staff how to be more financially literate as well as financially resilient. And where I was coming from that point of view was that, number one, of course, it helps your staff. Number two, it helps everybody handle inflation. And number three, it helps your employer brand. But I really wanted to point out the issue that this is creating, because according to an FRS recruitment study that has just been published, 62% of people recruiting are now saying that inflation is affecting their recruitment outlook. And 39% of people are saying that salary is the biggest issue when it comes to recruiting. Now, of course, I understand salary is all to do with what you're paid to do your work. But of course, on top of that as well, if you give people the ability to make the most of that, well then of course that can add extra value to the money that people are getting in the first place. So I did some research into this, and I particularly want to see how deep these money issues were in different ways. So first of all, according to CNBC, 77% of Americans are anxious about their finances and 56% are concerned about the cost of living. So then I also looked at it. It was found it very hard to find these details in Europe. But on the other hand, what I did then was I took a look at this demographically. And 46% of Gen Zs and 47% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, and about 30% are not confident that they will be able to retire with financial comfort. And that is a global statistic, and it's from Deloitte. So therefore, you can see that this is a really, really, really deeply held issue. And naturally, the more that people are concerned about money and what they're earning, well then of course that affects work, it affects relationships, it affects a variety of other things. And like I say, my thesis then is that if you can help people with that issue within the workplace, it adds a lot of value then to the opportunities that you're giving people in the first place. So then what I did was I asked people, what does financial resilience actually mean? And the two words that came back more than any others were stability and freedom. That's what people consider is stability and freedom is what underpins financial resilience. So if I have the freedom to choose where I work, and if I have the stability based on what I do have, so that maybe I can handle whatever might come my way, or at least feel that I can handle that, or know that I'm going to have a job next week or business next week, that is what people felt that resilience actually meant. Now, from there, of course, you may then wonder, well, what exactly do I think that financial literacy and financial resilience means? Well, I think when it comes to literacy, and of course that one is a big influencer on the other, I said that I feel that there's 5 questions that people should be able to answer, and that is, how can I understand what my options are, the questions I need to ask, and the people that I can talk to. That's the first one. How do I know what to buy, when to sell, and when to buy? And that also relates to any type of product, whether it's a savings product or it's an investment product or a pension, of course. How do I read the market? And this is another one, and it's not just to do with the stock market, but how do I know maybe when to fix in my mortgage? And I'm not saying that people need to know the answer to these, but they need to know how to ask the question, why to ask the question, and where to go in order to get some insights on the answer. Another one I said is that, how do I understand my savings or investing personality? And finally, what do I do when I feel stuck, feel scared, or feel ready to take action? And I think all of those together, that is, in my opinion, what financial literacy actually means. When you are able to confidently answer those questions, and a lot of those are action oriented, self-awareness oriented, insight and information gathering oriented, that is what I believe financial literacy actually is. So then we had a discussion about how that could be achieved, and of course it depends on the size of the company and the number of staff and a variety of other things, and we had a discussion about that. But I just want to tell you the questions that people asked me after I put this forward. Number one was, how do you handle this in different parts of the world? Bear in mind, this was a European conference and focused quite on Central and Eastern European as well. So my answer to that was, you need to understand what specific issues people are facing if you're in a multinational environment. And we've worked in many of them. And indeed, VectorVest has a variety of products from an insight, again, from a stock market analysis and other financial literacy point of view that can be tailored to that. So that's nothing new, but certainly when it comes to trying to do this on a big basis or on a wide basis when you've got a lot of different people, of course, it's understandable that would be the case. Other questions I got were like, how do you scale and personalize at the same time? How do you build engagement with this type of initiative? That's a particularly big one. I was talking to a lady from Azerbaijan who I am going to tag in this post, and she said, like, they have 900 people in their company, they've run something like this in the past, but how do you actually build engagement with it? How do you encourage people to take control of this issue? And I also got another one, which is, of course, how exactly do you implement this on a very practical basis, which, of course, I elaborated on, and I haven't time to elaborate in this video. But if any of you, of course, do have any questions about this, or, of course, if you're doing something like this, please, of course, tell me as well, and I'm more than happy to promote what you're doing as well, and just how you're doing it as a case study, because a lot of companies are really struggling with this. So, moving on from there, what I also want to do is tell you about the rest of the conference and what was happening. So, first of all, just to give you a sense of the type of challenges that are being had across HR, number one is feedback mechanisms, and these, by the way, aren't necessarily order. These are in chronological order for how they appeared. Feedback mechanism, how do you measure issues from staff or measure solutions from staff? Hybrid working, how do you get people back into the office? Or how do you continue levering the benefits of online as well, particularly when it comes to engagement, let's say with L&D, learning and development initiatives that have great scale when they can be done online? How do you find blind spots of talent? There was a big conversation around the need for more leadership at every level. Also, some people in HR talk about the fact that they have shifting relationships from customers to colleagues. Of course, their customers are the staff themselves that are working in their environment, but they're also colleagues. And of course, sometimes tough decisions and discussions have to be had, and they're often at the coalface, and then have to, be friends with everybody as well then afterwards. They talked about balancing the need of financial business targets with the personal needs of employees. They talked about the challenges and also the awareness around your employer brand. Of course, as always, there was a conversation as well around tech tools, particularly related to skills mapping and matching of internal demand and supply, and also how do you enable different generations to work together. So these were the types of conversations that were had at the forum, where people were saying, look, these are what they wanted to get out of the conversation. And I'm going to be meeting up soon with a very good friend of mine, Caroline Reedy, and I have so much to talk to her about. Caroline is, of course, the CEO of the HR Suite, so I've lots and lots to talk to her about when I see her next, all around the views that are slightly contrasting, and some are similar to what's going on in Ireland and more of Western Europe. Now, to finally finish on this, I also want to share with you some key nuggets that were taken away from the day. Number one is employer brand days, I should say 2 days, regarding employer brand, creating an identity that staff want to align with. Also, we had some great Croatian inspiration as well. So we had two fabulous women, Martina and Marina from Croatia, who I'll tag in this post as well, who were talking about having start, stop and continue workshops. I use them a lot as well in our business, and particularly we like to use Klaxoon to do that, a French tool that's super, that I don't see many others using. Also, we heard about reverse mentoring. People expect that to be about, younger people sharing ideas about technology with older people, whereas actually it's more about process and perspective, and can be very, very useful. Many people said a crisis can present wonderful opportunities to accelerate transformation, but the point was well made that when the crisis is over, the energy needs then to be reciprocated to give it back to staff who've rode in behind you. A lot of people talked about reducing emails and meetings, but increasing communication, and there was a range of case studies about how that can be done. In my opinion, we use Slack or any type of tool like that reduces email, I think is very important. And also there's so much you can do to avoid over meeting culture, but that was certainly an issue that came up as well today. People are sharing ideas about that. Also, it was pointed out that the start of a successful coaching relationship is for an employee to get in touch with their reality. It's really important to co-create the outcome for staff. And also, some people said it's important to farm for dissent within your staff. So that is a basic summary of where I'm at. I've taken some time out here this evening in Amsterdam, as I say, just to think through all that I've learned. And I have lots of time in my diary on Tuesday to follow up on this as well, because of course there's no point coming to an occasion like this here, the HR forum in Amsterdam, without knowing what I'm going to do and how I'm going to follow up on. So really looking forward to doing that, and thank you, Amsterdam, you've been amazing.